Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. And it's going to be a quick video simply because the workers are going to arrive to finish the penthouse here on the fourth floor and I'm on the third floor. And I assure you, when the building starts, lots of noise, lots of noise. But anyway, to make a long story short, I want to speak to you about Code Name Dawson. And that is the last book in the Eggbreaker series and book 5 as written. Now, you people who've been following me here, and thank you for that. Very welcome. When you'll understand that I wrote the Eggbreaker series basically first. And I wrote it first because it was really important to me that people understand where South Africa stands, not on the side of NATO, but on BRICS. And I will remind you that these books were written 10 years ago. So that's how far ahead we were actually seeing the problems. And you would do well, if you haven't done it yet, to go and look at the special episode we made on BRICS. Because I guarantee you that the White House or the Trump or any other president before or after has no flippant clue and they don't understand BRICS at all. They don't get BRICS. What I've seen here from intelligence analysts and Western guys talking ex-CIA, ex-whatever, they just don't get it. They just don't get it and they are not capable of thinking at a higher level. The highest level they can think about would be strategic, but there is actually a level higher than that, and that's where it gets religious. That's where you start saying, okay, tell me what the Bible says. Are these things predicted? Are these prophecies playing out? What are we dealing with? What is the US of A these days? What is it becoming? A fascist state? Yes, it's already there. UK, totally fascist state. I mean, I just heard yesterday, and today is December, it's 3rd of December 2025. So yesterday might be a year ago. I don't know when you're going to watch here. That George Galloway, former Member of Parliament of the British Parliament, had to actually flee the UK. Yeah, he had to flee because of freedom of speech. Now, I don't particularly like George Galloway, although I agree with a lot of things he's saying. And I disagree with even more because his lack of historical knowledge is really, to me, flippant annoying. But it's of course, history is always from the side of where you come from. Because I would look at the Second World War, for instance, from a South African side, because I am South African, and here I would be looking at it from a UK side, that little island without sun. I was kicked out of it twice. Once for spitting on Lord Kitchener, that guy in First World War. I want you. Remember those posters? Yeah, you Americans copied them. He was, of course, the guy who caused the most civilian casualties in the Second Anglo-Boer War with his scorched earth policy. Lord Milnerton above him, then Kitchener. Yeah, that's where the concentration camp starts, and that's why I spit it on his poster. And also, of course, the man was gay. He was a known homosexual, and he was known to do anything and everything in his path. So, well, that's what they said. In fact, people would, when they visited him, would lock their doors and make sure that he can't get to it. Yeah, fascinating, this fellow. And, when he starts saying, I want you, you really have to wonder what this guy actually wants. And how safe your ass would be. But anyway, he got a South African spy actually working for the Germans in World War One, Duneski or something like that. He actually claimed afterwards that he was responsible for killing Kitchener, because apparently he was on a ship and the ship was sailing somewhere, and this guy signaled to the U-boats and they sank that ship and made sure that Kitchener died during the process. And Duneski was picked up and survived the war. Then became a spy again in the Second World War, where he was arrested by the FBI in, I think, New York. But by that time, I think we already stole the northern bomb site. fascinating these things, how history gets together. And the other time I was thrown out of the UK and told to never come back, there was a bit of a fist fight in Buckingham Palace, which we won. But I'm not talking about that. I called. It was apparently the funniest incident in the palace since 17 whatever or 15 whatever. I don't know exactly what happened. Whatever. Long time ago, all the stories. It just shows you that history is very much the same type of thing which repeats. And what is fascinating to me is that the GMJ books actually predicted history quite well. And as I always say to you, if you go to the Legacy Conversations channel, the main channel where we speak to the military veterans, the generals, the admirals, sergeant majors, and any rank, look, we don't care really. National servicemen, it doesn't matter. It's fantastic to hear these people speaking, but it's fascinating to me. The special forces, especially, will always confirm what is already in the GMJ books. And as I always say to you guys, don't jump to conclusions. These people don't even know about the books. The books are not well known, not at all. And as I said yesterday when I made the video on Code Name Dawson, these videos are not actually designed to be highly watched. How we do it is we make this video on the book, and then we put a link in the book. And then if somebody actually happens to read the book and he wants to come and see what we look like or what we say or what we explain what is probably not in the book, then he's welcome here. And that's why you don't really see a lot of views. Do I care? I couldn't care less. Because on the other channel, I do have 1 million plus hours and 100,000 people a month and things like that. And I can tell you YouTube's a scam. But I'm not going to go into that now. It's not the point here. I mean, the point is Code Name Dawson. It's the last book where I tried to explain BRICS and the road which South Africa is taking to be part of BRICS. And they might actually win this fight, which I also say in the books, because I don't rate NATO and the US military highly at all. I think they are, well, I can be very graphic and tell you I urinate on them. That's what I think of them. Why? It's based upon actually seeing them in action, especially in Sub-Saharan Africa, where I've actually seen them operating and I've seen the results of them operating. And we penetrated them most thoroughly. It was so easy. It was so easy. And many times in the books, if you read between the lines, or sometimes the main character, Angelique Dawson, who is of course based upon real people, as all of them, and based upon real operations or scenarios, or training scenarios, and sometimes what ifs, all those type of things, war games, war planning. Then there'll be warnings. There'll be straightforward warnings. You're not good enough. Wake up. You're not going to make it here. Hey, hello. You are infiltrated. Hello. You're being betrayed. Hello. There's radio games being played with you. You just don't get it. Your arrogance is so big you don't give a. You don't. It's amazing to me. I've so many times I've heard this is that. Oh, where are you from? No, South Africa. Oh, that's close to Argentina, isn't it? Yeah, idiot. It's close to Argentina. Yeah. The day that the Cape of Good Hope trade route is cut by South Africa on behalf of BRICS, as will happen in the next World War, which is planned, by the way. I've explained it to you so many times in the series and in my books where this come from. The First World War, which was predicted and happened. The second, which was predicted and happened. The third one, we're waiting to break out. All predicted in the occult books. Read Oath of Evil, The War on Protestantism, and educate yourself. You will find that we go into the occult books. We look at these predictions, we put the Bible next to it, and we say, all right, we can see this is happening. We can see it's turning. If a man like George Galloway has to flee his own country because he's too scared to go back, because why? Because he was basically detained by the UK anti-terrorist police. Anti-terrorist police. Armed police. Now, you wouldn't understand if you're from the rest of the world why armed police is such a big deal in the UK. because normally their policemen are not armed at all. So for them to have an armed policeman close to them is very frightening. And may I say, they frighten quite easily. But yeah, Galloway was detained for 4 hours, his wife for 5 hours. What was their crime? Well, she had a Palestinian flag, as he says rather nicely, on her fingernails. And he, of course, is very outspoken on the Palestinian question. Whether he's right or wrong, guys, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But when you have a damn legal system coming up and saying to you, I'm from the police, I'm going to ask you questions where you stand politically and what you say online. And if you refuse to answer me, you're automatically guilty and I can arrest you. And I will. Where in the world have you heard of such crap? The apartheid police where I come from didn't have that. No, no. The KGB, like hell no, no. What about the Shah of Iran's police? You know, those torturers, the ones who boil people's feet. Did they have that? No, no, no. No, it's unheard of. The Gestapo. No, no. Only the UK police have that. And I warned you so many times, the FBI. Yes, the female body inspectors. The Clinton Whitewash Bureau. Them. Yeah, they have the same thing going. Yeah. Yeah, if you lie to them on an oath, they will arrest you. That is why people like Hillary Clinton, when they interviewed her on an email scandal, and others, you know, that attack in Libya, places like that, she would never be on an oath. Why not? Because then she can either deny or she can lie all the time, as they all do, and then nothing can happen to them. That is also why people, when they testify in Congress and they're on an oath, yeah, well, they just wait till 5 years out. They lie through their teeth. They get protected by the unit party, and then after 5 years, they're free. And in the meantime, people die in the background. And the FBI, by the way, as I reveal in my books, lay behind most, if not all, of the terrorist attacks in the US. Why do I say that? Because they would go to some dumbass hillbilly, and then they would do this thing, talk to him, infiltrate his group, you know, when the whiskey is flowing and the barbecue is going, and they start talking very manly. They're going to fuck up this guy. They're going to do that. Man, they're going to get some weapons from Russia, and they're going to shoot down George Bush Jr., the little wanker. We're going to shoot down his aircraft, you know, Air Force One, and so forth. Yeah. And then just before they do it, the FBI arrest them. It's called a sting operation. Shouldn't even be legal. And guess what? Guys? Oh, there's another damn mosquito here. I killed one yesterday. I'll kill one again. So anyway, so make a long story short, then the FBI stands and says, yeah, we're from the FBI. And, you know, we arrested these people and we keep America safe. And yes, we have a Patriot Act. We're going to come for you. Yes. It is amazing. It's amazing to me that you people inside cannot see what's happening. That's pure fascism. And again, there's not another police force in the world except the UK now who can do the same thing and get away with it. But anyway, as I say, the GMJ books, the Joseph James books were at the time quite far ahead. And that pleases me very much. On the other hand, I'm really saddened that it's actually playing out like that. Because I was hoping that common sense would take over and it wouldn't happen like that. But, you know, shit happens, as they say in life. Live with it. I don't care anymore. So in Dawson, it's the last book in the Eggbreaker series, and where we are in the story now is that Angelique Dawson was shot with a poisoned bullet in Code Name Lee's, or Phoenix. Phoenix was shot in Phoenix, and then she was transported to France. In the meantime, a lot of things happened with the ground operations. There was a problem with the command lines, which I talked about in Code Name Lee's. The reason why I say that is because it is very, very important to know who commands where. You will remember when President Ronald Reagan was an occultist, by the way, Satan worshipper. Yeah. His wife actually wouldn't let him do anything, Nancy Reagan. Wouldn't let him do anything without first looking at the stars and seeing what should be done and should not be done. It is so sad when you find these things out. Of course, he was also a knight of what? Malta. Catholic organization, isn't it? Yeah. Why would a Protestant leader be part of a Catholic organization? Tell me. Why? Because they bow down to Rome. That's why. They bow down to Rome, the first beast of the Bible. Yeah, there you go. Jesuit controlled. Most of them, all of them. Go and look who's members of Catholic societies. Go and look who's members of Freemasons, which is also controlled by the Jesuits. Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting, isn't it? Read Oath of Evil. I keep on mentioning that book to you, and there's others as well. I think Code Name Rebecca 65 might also go into it. Read these things. You will be surprised what we uncovered and what we discovered and what we're revealing, because the Bible actually says you have to reveal these things, and I do reveal these things, and I have evidence. Otherwise, I wouldn't publish. Now, Reagan, when he was shot, and I'm glad he didn't die. And then he was shot, and really the Secret Service acted very quickly. It was impressive. When he was shot that day, nobody knew who was in command of the US for a long time. Yeah, totally didn't know. I think General Haig, or what was it? He said he's in command. But he was the Secretary of Defense, I believe. He had nothing to do with the Vice President. And so there's utter confusion. And if you have confusion in a time of war, yeah. Go and get your white flag, man, because you're gonna get hammered, because that's when you're weak. They're gonna attack you. And so there was a bit of a line of command problem, but we discussed that in the previous book. In this book, the South Africans now approach Angelique and they say, "Listen, let's talk. This has been going on too long. We've suffered tremendous losses. You've suffered losses, and you know what? It's not good. Let's bury the hatchet and let's carry on." No, there's nothing wrong with peace overtures, but remember what the Bible says, especially when you deal with the White House and with the second beast of the Bible, which is the US of A, because it's going to act like a second beast. It's under the influence of the first beast, and the first beast is getting its power from where? Satan, dragon, Lucifer. Do I say that? No. I'm quoting the Bible to you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, read the books of Daniel and Revelations, or read Oath of Evil, or follow the links which I give you. You will wake up to, and a lot of things will actually start making sense to you. And then you won't be bothered by it. You will begin to understand what the hell is happening here. With all the Hegelian dialectics and blah, blah, blah. And I made videos on the Hegelian dialectic as well. But it's in my books. But the Bible says when men comes to you, especially these second beast people, and they start saying things like peace, peace, peace. What does the Bible say? Come on, my friends, you know the Bible, you're believers. It says sudden destruction will follow. Note that the Bible does not say it might follow. It says it will follow. And if you look at the second beast, how they act, what did they do with Iran in a 12-day war, which is well lost, by the way? They had to beg for peace. Look at my video on that as well. Why? I have access to things. I have access to things which you probably don't have. And yes, I could see the damage on the satellite pictures and things like that I didn't think about. And of course, when the US, and I say that too, when the US came with these stupid little bombers which no one fears and did virtually no damage, guess what? There were 2 Chinese spy ships lying there tracking them all the way. All the way. Yeah. Think about that, idiots. And when I don't mean you listening here, when I say that, I talk about these rhinos, public in name only, or these warhawks, people like Lindsey Graham, what's Miss Lindsay, what do we call it? That hero of of a Gulf War. The lawyer who actually didn't deploy. Then he was part of it, of course. Mm. Even Senator Joseph McCarthy actually went flying combat missions, got decorated for it. Do you know that even the McCarthy, when he brought out that list of communist and anti-American people, do you know that after the Cold War, when they opened the Soviet Union's archives, and they also started breaking the Verona Code, every name on his list was actually true. Yeah, there was one that I had some doubts about, but most of them were actually true. So it's amazing when that happened. What was going on with Iran and Israel? What happened? I'll tell you what happened. We were in negotiations for peace. Yes, we were like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about our nuclear program. Let's see what we can do. And what happened? Sudden destruction. Yeah. Were they set up? Well, guys, how can you say they were not set up? Of course they were set up. Of course they were negotiating in bad faith, at least the US of A. Of course, when Donald Trump thought that they were actually winning, he was like, yeah, man, I was behind this. I knew this all the time. Look at me. I'm the greatest. Yeah. And when Israel started suffering losses they couldn't take, and they had to start begging for mercy, which they did. Yeah, we know about that. And don't try to hide your weaknesses, especially when your opponents actually know about it. And I'm not even your enemy. So I say these things to you. I say it in love. I say to you guys, wake up. Wake up. You might be bullshitting yourself wherever you are in your little, talk to each other and you talk the same language. Perhaps you should hear the truth from someone like me. Yeah, we know about this and we laugh at you. Me with bitterness, but I will laugh because we're enjoying your discomfort. Yeah, so when then what happened? Then Donald Trump didn't know anything about it and this is not right and blah blah blah. And then came of course the strikes with these stealth bombers of yours, which ain't flippant stealthy to begin with. Yeah, you try that with a genuine serious country like China or Russia, India, North Korea, who's now got missiles to reach the mainland of the US and they will launch on you. And you can't stop those missiles. And Iran, very quick soon, they're going to have that type of capability, capacity. And then, come. Take them on. I want to see what happens. You're so groot back. You're so Afrikaans word to say you're such big mouths. Oh, come. I love to see it. I would love to see what happens to you. Fact of the matter is when there's these type of negotiations going on, and this comes out in Code Name Dawson, written in 2015, I believe, perhaps early 2016. You simply cannot trust. There is no such thing as trust. And the other character in the book, Foxtrot, is the husband of Angelique, is totally against these negotiations. As far as he's concerned, he's got them on the run. He's hurting them. He's badly interfering with their operations. They have to have one damn eye behind him all the time because they don't know where he's going to strike, and he's striking right across Africa through the Eggbreaker network. Project Ivory, go and find out what it is. And and so he's against that, but Angelique is like, let's give him a chance. I mean, look, let's stop this. Yes, we're winning and we proved our points, but let's just see if we can achieve peace. And of course, for her to achieve peace, she has to go down south because they don't want to come north. So Angelique infiltrates herself into her home country, South Africa, where she's wanted. Perhaps not legally, but in the shadow war, she's definitely wanted. And she's taking a huge chance. And of course, they do betray her. And I do write about it. And I, once again, as a Rooivalk attack helicopter involved. Why? Because we fear that thing above all. That was our major concern, is a Rooivalk attack helicopter. And just yesterday, I made an episode for 2.5 hours on Legacy. I don't know when it will be out. Well, I might put it here for you guys on the George M. James channel first. But I'll see. I'll see how I feel and how many people actually want to see it. But This is a test pilot where I had a very successful video with us at Legacy Conversation talking about the attack helicopter, which at its time was rated above the Apache. But for 2.5 hours, basically, I was just talking to him, asking questions about it. And that's the video we did yesterday. Now, again, guys, please don't jump to conclusion. Trevor Ralston, Colonel Ralston, the test pilot, doesn't even know about these books. He's got nothing to do with the books. He's not in the books. Don't put words in his mouth. But if you're interested in that attack piece, that is the two videos to watch. And it is fantastic. I mean, we had such fun talking about it. But anyway, to make a long story short, the attack helicopter is once again involved. There's a battle, there's royal going on there. But in the background, there's something which is a much more worrying. And this is based upon actual events. You have to listen to my video where I speak about the Muslim truce. And the entire egg breaker has to do with the Muslim truce and trying to break the Muslim truce. Because besides BRICS, you also have a Muslim truce. Now, what the Muslim truce is, and it's denied, and I cannot prove it, and I'm not saying it is like that, God's honest truth, so help me God. But the indications from an intelligence viewpoint is very, very strong. Because there's an oddity going on. There was a lot of, well, not a lot, but quite a few terrorist attacks, jihadi type of attacks, Muslim terrorism attacks on South Africa during the reign of Mr. Mandela. And I describe in code name OSTM, Elvis disappeared. Just overnight, just poof, he disappeared. And it is very weird because South Africa is actually known as a Christian country. Is it really a Christian country? No, not really. They're following these fake doctrines and they have a lot of ancestor worship and shit like that worked into it, especially in the Catholic Church. Especially in Africa, you won't get that out of people. Of course, that's totally not biblical because once you're dead, you're dead. You sleep until Jesus arrives to wake you up if you're in the book. If you're not in the book, you'll keep on sleeping until afterwards, 1,000 years later. I want to explain this to you again. I'm not a preacher. I'm not at all. But any Seventh-day Adventist will know these things. Why? Because we do Bible studies like you've never seen in your life. It is really, really intensive. And we follow the Bible and the Bible alone. Which is why, funny enough, it is the biggest Protestant church in the world. You know that? It's 24 million members. Which really makes your little silly churches with 500 members look a bit silly. Because it seems to me that every second fellow has a few ideas, not me. I follow the Seventh-day Adventist official doctrine. And then they open their own little church and they are sincere, I've got no doubts about it. But they are following the mark of the beast. They go to church on a Sunday, they have no understanding of death. They think you die and the next moment you're in heaven. Yeah, just like that. Interesting. So if Jesus comes again, you have to die in heaven again, go back to your grave. And then you sort of are resurrected now again. You know, because that's your belief. It's as stupid as shit. I mean, it's totally unbiblical. But to treat over evil, you will find the answers there. You know, when my wife died, Melissa, and she was the second wife I lost to death. There was one before, Lotta as well. Lotta was a member of French intelligence. She is in the books as well, under the name of Lemon Bomb. And when Melissa died in 2014, I wanted to know what's happening after death. I was really angry. Not with God as much, but with life, because I didn't expect her to die. Lotta, I did expect to die. I mean, Lotta, I knew. We were both in the world where you take your risks, and funny enough, we were leaving the world. We were going to get out and start afresh somewhere, like Rebecca and myself did. And so it was denied. In Code Name Foxtrot, which I think is the book following here on Code Name Dawson, I actually describe a bit of what happened. in a fictional way. I mean, Lotta didn't die like I say in the book, but it was very much the same, but in a different country. And there are certain things which are in the book which is actually true. So anyway, it doesn't matter. What I'm saying to you is that there's a cause to be looked at in South Africa. I had the feeling that a lot of young Muslims, clever people, doctors, lawyers, they're smart people, you know, and they were very much getting angry with what's happening in the West, attacking the Muslim countries all the time. And though Islam, in my opinion, and Lotta was a Muslim woman, modern Muslim woman, so I know something about them, and I spoke to many of them, of course, in depth, even during interrogations. I will never disbelieve their sincerity. Even though I would say they are religion of peace, they are really not. It's the only religion in the world which I know about. If you leave a religion, you sort of have automatic death sentence against you. So that's a problem. And if they speak out a death sentence, a fatwa or something, they call it against you, like Salman Rushdie, somewhere down the line, someone is going to get you or try to do so. But they also have a saying, and that is their main defense. They will also say to me, because we have a right to defend ourselves. We were not attacking you. You were attacking us. And then you would say, but 7/11, guys, or 9/11, what's 9/11? I always get confused. And then they would say, well, you know, 9/11 happened because you were in the holy places in Saudi. That's why it happened, and you were attacking us. And then I would say, but guys, what about the Mujahideen? We were in Afghanistan. Did we not help you? And then it just goes back to the Crusades, man, all the way. And who's behind the Crusades? Oh, there you go, Rome, Catholic. There you go. Maybe it's all go back to the first beast of the Bible. Every single bloody road in terrorism leads back to Rome. It's amazing. If you don't believe me, you think I'm talking nonsense here, read my books and wake up to reality. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. That's what started the search. We were inside this world and we were thinking something is controlling this terrorism. There's something happening here. And then we started seeing the Hegelian dialectics and blah, blah, blah. You can read the rest. There's a lot of things I explained in the GMJ books which are not known everywhere. And that's why I also ask you, if you want to buy us a coffee, and I'll put a little link in here, because we're so serious, perhaps we should just sit back and listen to this quick request and take life a bit easier, and then we'll talk about the Legionnaire, because that is actually the most important thing which is in the book. It is not a negotiation process, it's not BRICS, and it is not the Muslim truce, which you have to look at the video. And then I will tell you where this Legionnaire fellow fitted in. So let us first have a request for coffee. Buy me a coffee, man, if you want to. If you don't want to, then it's also okay. I really, it makes no difference in my life, but it feels good if somebody appreciates what I do. Well, welcome here. You know, guys, we've been doing this for almost 5 years, and we have millions of views and more than 1 million hours of views. And we're really hurting our enemies because they don't like our message to come out, which is why we're so suppressed. So just a quick reminder, if you like the video, please think about it. Buy me a rooibos tea. But you actually click on it as buy me a coffee. It is quite standard right across YouTube and everywhere else.
We just added it. It's a new support, a new method of support, which is greatly appreciated.
Yes, and it is still the same as we still have Patreon, of course, and we will still ask you to read my books and the books we wrote together because it's really, really good. This is Rebecca, by the way, if you don't know, it's my lovely wife. She's the driving force behind Legacy, because there were times when I wanted to give up and there were lots of frustrations, especially with her.
Even in filling out the Buy Me a Coffee form.
Man, that's true. I've got a South African attitude against red tape. You know, you were standing in the queues where at elevators and things, you do get angry quite quickly. I think I won't get it out of me. But guys, to be honest, it's not only me making these videos. Sometimes Fossey and the rest would also contribute. And if they don't contribute in making the video, Fossey especially is doing a lot of editing in the background. So we're going to put in also a specific link where another presenter was involved, where you buy him or her a coffee, but not me, because I think it's just the right thing to do.
We're starting out the test phase
Yeah.
now.
See if it works.
So you can buy us a coffee. There is a choice. You can select 1, 2, 3, or more coffees.
Yeah.
It's not coffee.
Or
We don't
rooibos tea.
see. We don't drink coffee. That's why, believe it or not, that's why rooibos tea is very appreciated.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. And then, yeah, of course, you know, I say this in the thank you message as well, but it is a bit psychological as well. If you keep on doing this and keep on working, keep on spending a lot of money to do it, the trip to us in South Africa to record all the Air Force things has cost 100,000 rand easily. At some stage you really feel abused, man. You really feel that you need to get something back, even if it's small. It's more about psychological, doing a good job.
And what I see is it motivates him to continue on and get new ideas. And he would like, like the trip, which is coming up, I think, or who knows when you see this, bridge over River Kwai. He was so motivated to do that.
Yeah, and we learned a lot, River Kwai. It's a fantastic video. Also include Hellfire Pass, but we also would like to go to Vietnam and look at Khe Sanh and Dien Bien Phu and where the Americans ran away, where the CIA headquarters left their files behind. I'll mention that. But even here in Thailand, in Bangkok, if we go to Bangkok, we fly to Bangkok, we can spend a day or two and record the Air Force Museum or the other museums that are there. It's history, man. We need support to do it. It's not fair that we carry the burden all by ourselves. I'm not really willing to do that anymore. People can enjoy the videos. If you can assist us, buy us a coffee, man. What does coffee cost? Or a rooibos tea? Nothing. Just contribute something and we can keep us going and hurt our enemies even more.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Looking very American right now.
You do?
Yeah, because American girls always wear hats because their hair always looks bad. Like, you don't have to worry about your hair.
Okay. Okay, so I hope that you understand now that besides BRICS, there's also this Muslim truce going on in South Africa. Basically, it comes down to these people inside South Africa who has a long history of working with what we would have called terrorist groups like a PLO and Arafat, and these people was actually friends of them. So when South Africa became, let's call it, what do we call it, free or whatever, under Mandela, the first thing they did is they opened embassies in these countries and they established relationships, and they basically put the finger in the eye of the West. Because Mr. Mandela's foreign policy, and it is like that to this very day, is one of what did you do for us during our struggle years? And you, the West, you did nothing. We're not very grateful for, how you helped them in the UK, people like George Calloway, and so, not at all. We're not grateful to that, or not a lot. They look at the Soviet Union, Russia, those places as their friends, communist China. That's why the BRIC story is actually how it came into being. But I go into that in a lot of the books, so you have to look at that too. And then, of course, I had the feeling that the young Muslims were looking for a cause. They were looking for something to do, especially, as I said, because they felt they were being attacked. And we saw that from the first Gulf War, it became very prominent. Then we had the terrorist incidents in South Africa, like in Code Name Dawson, and then suddenly that disappeared. And that is very, very suspicious that it disappeared. Because, as I say, nominally South Africa is a Western-orientated Christian type of country. They should be attacked like Kenya and the rest, but they're not. Why not? Why not? It is an anomaly. There's something strange here, guys. That's why we picked it up. That's why I wrote those books. You have to start thinking out of the box. And so we became aware that there's a former French soldier, a Foreign Legion member in South Africa, and he got converted. He didn't start off as a Muslim, but during his travels and during his deployments, at some stage he got converted, and then he actually left the Legion. Now, the Foreign Legion does not have special forces, right? Let's be clear on that. If you want to get to special forces in the French military, you go to the French Army Special Forces, or you can go to the unit, which features quite a lot in these books, simply because Angelique was one of them. Got a training there as well. Is French Marine Commandos, who are the same as Royal Marines, and they have special forces capacities as would be the Special Boat Squadron, which we rate way above the SAS. In fact, I see the SAS as fairly low standard unit. Not only me saying so, we had RSMs of South African Special Forces talking here on legacy conversations. And guess what? They said they looked at the Navy SEALs and the rest, and they thought they were the same as the old paratrooper parachute battalion of South Africa, which is pure conventional. It's not special forces at all. So yeah, so people get angry with me, and then you talk to the experts like that, and without prompting from my side, again, these people don't even know about the books. They just say what I already said in the books before. It's amazing. And I'm blessed. Well, I'm grateful to God that I had those insights. And it's not about me, guys. I'm not important. But I'm grateful that I did not go on the wrong trail. And what I've said is coming out to be true. Even though, as I said, on the one hand, I detest that because I was hoping it would not happen like that. But it is the way it is. So to make a long story now very short, this fellow then arrived in South Africa, and he started training some of these youths in the use of explosives, and to see if we can train them how to make bombs, things like that. And of course, he had the expert knowledge to do so, and we started hunting him. Yeah. Now in Code Name Dawson, we actually get him. And we get him in a way which is very much a way we did get him. And it's just not at the same place, but in the book it plays off on the road between Pretoria and Cullinan, which is known as very famous for the Cullinan Diamond, which I'm sure you heard about the Cullinan Diamond before. On that road, as I say to you always in all these talks or lectures or whatever, if you go in any GMJ book and they talk about a certain road or a certain place or a certain mountain or wherever, you can go and you can stand there and you'll see this plane off. So they got hold of this fellow, by the way, and yeah, he was then handed over to some people, and I don't know what happened to him further. That part of the story is fairly true. Also, there's certain ways of how we did it, and they're using this a balloon to jump onto a target. There's a lot of counter-terrorism things inside this book of Code Name Dawson, which is fairly unknown to the West, but is very well known to us and very easy to actually to actually do if you know how, and you can think a bit further than your nose, which most of them cannot do. Now, also in this book, I talk about the old South African Police Force camouflage uniform, which I wore with pride. And I made the entire special episode on it as well. If you want to see what this camo looked like, in fact, it's hanging here right behind my head. But you can look at that video and you'll find me going back into a police mode. So you'll see me a different me, because I'll be going back to those days. And then, of course, I'm not the same as I am now, 40 years later. And that's Code Name Dawson. It ends with sort of a peace treaty, which is held, as far as I know, up to today. The clashes did not start between the egg breakers and assassins, as far as I know. But both units are still operating and both are still around, even though the egg breakers are now getting very old and they probably retired. Have they been replaced? Yes. Yes, I think so. but I have no knowledge, and even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. So guys, read it. That's Code Name Dawson. Nice book to read. Not free for 300 pages, 350. Amazon always, and yeah, hardcover, softcover, also Kindle as well as audio. Hope you enjoy it. Spread the word. And that concludes the entire series on the books, unless I write another one, which I might or might not do. And there will be special episodes here and there, I'm sure. But yeah, it took me 6 months to do this. I want to thank all of you who listened here, those of you who subscribed. I'm grateful to you. I hope I didn't annoy you that much. It wasn't my intention. But sometimes when I speak about the books, I become, what I was in those days. And I become a little bit more serious than what I am normally these days. So God bless until we meet again.